It's Showtime Synergy, the latest review podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network, is coming. So join TFG1Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Rec, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Gem and the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and GeekCastRadio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 37th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me for this...
In a row?
What?
37 in a row?
That's Mike with his ever...
Hey, it's a Clerks reference.
Funny references. And obviously that means he is with me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise. Are you ready for, not Clerks, but Powers of the Grayskull, sir?
Oh my god. Teela is Veronica. My girlfriend just sucked 36 He-Mans in a row?
All right, we're going to have to go ahead and mute Mike for the remainder of this episode. In this episode of Tales of Eternia, we will be giving you our thoughts on episode 108, Teela's Triumph, episode 109, Orko's New Friend, and episode 110, The Problem with Power. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
But first, we have news. This news actually came out about a week and a half ago or so, as of this recording. Apparently, we're getting a Masters movie. The script is done.
The script seems to have been done multiple times here. Obviously, we've had a lot of different people go through this. There's been about 4 or 5 different writers that have done this.
Right.
We've had, Terry Rossio, Richard Wenk, Alex Litvak, Michael Finch, John Chu, and now apparently finally Jeff Wadlow, who did the writing and directing on Kick-Ass 2. But there's an actual picture that was posted on Twitter by the Columbia Pictures senior VP that shows the front page of a Masters of the Universe script marked December 24th, 2014, Columbia Pictures Masters of the Universe, main authorship being credited to Jeff Wadlow, previous drafts by the people that I previously mentioned. So I think that's pretty somewhat official, I would think, as far as that there is actually a script that's not a rumor. But it does not necessarily mean that we're going to get an actual movie yet, because they still have to obviously get the green light from the studio heads. So
true. And Mattel.
But I mean, I assume if the senior VP is tweeting this, that at least he is in favor of it.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
So maybe we'll finally get one. I mean, this has been long overdue. If they're going to do everything else, they might as well do this. And please, somebody do it before Michael Bay gets a hold of it.
No, they will not let... Okay, so can we bring that up?
No,
too?
we don't.
Can we...
People will just hate us if we bash Michael Bay again and again and
please.
again.
No. People aren't going to hate us, but there was a rumor, and I'm just going to say it's a rumor. I'm not believing it until somebody comes out and actually says it's the truth.
No, it's not
There
true.
There is a rumor that Michael Bay is going to be directing a Thundercats live-action film.
Nah, not happening. I definitely don't believe that at all. But
so let me ask you, really quick. Let me ask you. Okay, so this news came out the end of Christmas Eve 2014. If the script is done and production starts, and I don't even know. Like you said, the movie has to be greenlit. But if production starts at the end of this year, at the end of 2015, do you think it'll be in theaters by 2017 because 2017 marks the 30th anniversary since the original 87 film came out.
Yeah, I don't know if they would be trying to push something out before 2016 or if it would be something that would get in 2017. I'm not really sure, but I do think the property is due, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a He-Man fan. I'm saying it because it's something that could easily be done today with the types of movies that we're putting out. Kind of like if you think about like how Hercules with the Rock looked this year. And how some other things that we've done, you know, whether it be, even though these weren't bad movies, but Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans and Immortals and some of those films, I mean, we're easily able to do this type of thing from an effect standpoint and from making it believable compared to what we had to deal with, obviously, in the 80s, which I still, you know, nostalgically like that film, regardless of the random new characters they created for it. We'll get into that in a future date. But I do also think they have the perfect He-Man out there, which would be Thor himself.
No.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth would absolutely be a perfect cast for He-Man. He looks like He-Man. I don't care if you like him or not. He has the look. He would be perfect for it.
He's too skinny.
No, not when he bulks up. He's not. Those actors like that can get buff or get skinny real quick here and there. Look at Christian Bale, for example. But yeah, I think
we need like an old man Logan type of He-Man, where it's an older version of He-Man. Think of Batman. Oh God, people are gonna scream at their iPods and stuff. Think of The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman is old.
If anyone's listening to us via iPods, I don't mind if we upset them.
Well, anyway, screaming at their media devices. Thank you.
Their phones.
Anyway, whatever. Anyway, I honestly would love to see an older version of He-Man, so Dolph can come back in and play the older version of He-Man, and someone else can come in and play the younger version.
Dolph can play Man-at-Arms, or he can play some other older character, but I really do think Hemsworth would be the perfect He-Man. I don't think there's ever been somebody that's come along that looks the part better than he does if it was to take place in the next couple of years. But I'm just saying it's a right time to do this. But at the same time, we have yet to see an 80s property be rebooted properly. So, you know, would this buck the trend and finally have somebody do it right? Or, I don't know. I don't know how excited I can be about this, but if we're going to do a Turtles, if we're going to do a Transformers, why are we not doing He-Man? It's one of the easiest ones to translate into screen, I think. Plus, Skeletor would look awesome.
We've already done G.I. Joe. Gem is coming later this year. Not that you care about that, but still. All right, so as you said, get back to your other line there.
Oh yeah, it's that time to actually get back into episodes. So if Mike's ready and your guys are ready, it's time to go back to Eternia.
I'm finished.
Adam, we've only been practicing 2 hours. How do you expect to improve if you don't work on your swordsmanship?
Teela, I'm too tired. Pick on someone your own size.
How about me, Teela? We haven't practiced together in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Ever since I realized I couldn't beat you.
One of the things I tried to teach you was to never give up. Besides, how do you expect to improve if you don't work on your swordsmanship?
For that, you deserve to lose. Prepare to meet your match.
Your daughter has grown into a remarkable woman.
Yes, I miss her deeply. I live for the day I can tell her that I am her mother.
When was the last time you visited her?
You know me well, Spirit of Grayskull. It has been too long. But I will wait no longer. I will go to her as fast as I can, on the wings of a falcon.
All right, first up today is episode 108, Teela's Triumph, written by Joseph Botsford, air date of Thursday, November 8th, 1984. Skeletor sends Zor to another world, not realizing that he's really the sorceress. The Spirit of Grayskull calls for help and implores Teela to take the sorceress's place, while He-Man tracks down Skeletor to try to find out what has happened to their sorceress. Bad guys, we have Skeletor, Evil Lyn, and Trapjaw, and the Masters, we obviously have the regulars, plus the sorcerer / Zor. And the PSA is all about responsibilities and that jobs can seem impossible, but don't give up. And people can only expect your best, so do your best. kind of a lame PSA. Anyways, getting into this idea of eliminating Sorceress from the picture, getting her into another dimension, another universe, so that Grayskull is not guarded, and we have to deal with the spirit of Grayskull and possibly Teela and or others to help defend Castle Grayskull. Well, first Sorceress is off in another universe, and eventually He-Man is off as well. So it's kind of Eternia is Skeletor's domain for a little while. Definitely a plot that we have not seen before. So how did you feel about the plot for Teela's Triumph?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. Considering what she becomes in other mediums, whether it be comic books or other cartoon series and stuff like that, where, like, in the current, spoiler for you, in the current ongoing, or the ongoing that just ended, she became the goddess. You know, and she's all goddess over snake men, and she has the snake armor and whatever else, and I believe we've seen her in that before.
Yeah. So
it was kind of interesting to see that they're actually we haven't heard mention about this. Between Teela's quest and now, from season 1 to now, we've heard mentions every now and then in certain episodes dealing with Teela about her mother and Teela's eventual destiny and everything else, but really we haven't heard diddly squat in a while. And it's really nice that they're paying off the whole Teela sorceress story.
Yeah, I like the continuity with that, and how they're kind of sticking with that storyline as far as the relationship between the Sorceress and Teela. But for some reason, it was something that I never even considered up until this episode, and I don't know why. We've been through 107 episodes prior to this, and never once did I even consider or contemplate the idea of who would be in charge of Grayskull if the Sorceress wasn't there. You know, it's like the whole, like, something happens to the president and the vice president, who takes over type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a chain of command, but we've never really thought about, or just, I've never even had the notion to consider the chain of command at Grayskull and who would be next. Obviously, it makes sense for it to be Teela, given the storyline that they've set up prior to that between Teela and the Sorceress. But it's just, for some reason, something I never even thought about. I don't know about you.
No, I didn't either, because, I mean, the only thing I thought about it is when He-Man went into the past, or Teela went into the past and saw the old sorceress before Teela Na, who is who is Teela's mother, and we saw the Swords of Power and Protection back in that flashback. Like, that's the only time I'm like, oh, so it's sorceress after sorceress after, so it's a bloodline kind of thing. But other than that, I didn't think of anything. And then all of a sudden, this giant, ghost is like, it's like Fatso from Casper came out of the wall and like, I will protect Grayskull. I'm the spirit of the castle. It's like, holy crap.
Well, and we've seen him before.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, the spirit has appeared before. But you bring up a good point too with the sorceress's mother as well. That this is something that is one of the main reasons why originally I wanted to do this podcast series with you, was because it had been so long since I had seen any of the episodes of He-Man, She-Ra, etc. Not as long since I saw the Mike Young reboot, but one of the reasons I wanted to is because I couldn't remember everything that happened in the series, and I knew characters, and I knew what they looked like, and I knew maybe a few things here and there. But I didn't remember everything, so that was one of the reasons for revisiting it, was to learn about some things that I had forgotten, obviously, since I was 10 years old or 7 years old or whatever it was. And that's one thing that I didn't ever realize, the whole idea that there was sorceresses that took over, and that there was multiple. Like you said, it went from the first one that we were exposed to the Sorceress, to eventually possibly Teela, etc. So that whole idea is something that I totally did not remember from my childhood. So that's one thing that I've learned through this process.
Absolutely.
So yeah, a decent plot, something we've definitely never seen before, and it's good when you get to episode 108 that you're still being able to come up with some unique things, which also just proves that when we do see the same plot over and over again, it's just people not trying hard enough, because there is ways. No, I'm just talking about with this series. When we see the same type of thing done over and over again, that we can't just excuse them because we're into. You can't just say, "Oh, it's been 100 episodes. It's hard to come up with new stuff," because it's definitely possible. We're right here at 108, and they came up with a new storyline. So, if you try hard enough, like the PSA says, and you do your best, you can come up with original plots, even in the second season of a show. So,
yeah, and I gotta say, the PSAs lately in these 3 episodes is like, what the hell are they? We're 108. By the end of this podcast, we'll be 110 episodes in. We'll only have 20 cartoons left to watch. And it seemed to me, and I'll say this as we go along through each of these episodes today, it just seems to me that the PSAs, they're just telling kids lessons now. They're just trying to teach them a lesson that has nothing to do with the episode. I mean, yeah, sure, this one kind of did, have to do with the episode, but it just, I don't know.
I think it's hit or miss. I think some of them are still having much to do with the episode, and some of them are just kind of lessons that they're just kind of throwing at us. But definitely hit or miss. Some that correlate, some that don't. But it's probably kind of hard to get 130 lessons for kids unless you really plot it out ahead of time, and that would dictate what every episode would be about prior, which I don't think they were trying to do. So they're doing the episodes and they're trying to come up with lessons after the fact. So I'm going to give them somewhat of a pass, but I don't know. This one was kind of lame. All right, let's make our way for the first time today over to Castle Grayskull to see what exactly we liked about Teela's training.
What happened? That strange ray. It must have sent me to another world. How could anyone, even He-Man, find me amongst all the possible worlds?
Aren't they great, Cringer? I've never seen such fencing.
Very exciting.
Oh, no.
That's my second point. I only need one more to win.
You see, I can't beat you.
All right, as long as you say you can't.
All right, you're on. Almost got you that time.
But you didn't, and that's what counts. Not bad. Maybe I taught you too well. Very exciting!
Adam,
Adam, what's wrong?
I think someone's calling me. Adam, Teela, it's the spirit of Grayskull.
Oh, I hope it just wants to say hello.
The sorceress has disappeared.
What?
Disappeared?
I can no longer contact her.
Do you have any idea where she could be?
I have searched throughout Eternia. I cannot find her anywhere.
We must tell He-Man. It's time he looked into this.
I think the first thing he'll do is ask Skeletor a few questions.
Well, I know I certainly will. I'll get the Wind Raider ready.
No, Teela, there is something even more important for you to do. Grayskull is empty. The sorceress is gone. You must take her place.
Me? How could I take the sorceress's place? How could anyone?
No one could, except the right person. You.
But why me?
I cannot explain that to you now. I can only ask for your help. I cannot force you. It is your choice.
I don't understand any of this, but I'll do whatever I can to help.
Thank you.
All right, we've arrived at Castle Grayskull for the first time today. I do want to correct myself real quick. I had mentioned that the spirit of Grayskull had appeared previously. I was getting that confused with both the drawbridge, which we heard voiced a few weeks back, and then we also had the spirit of the Ancients, which was not the spirit of Grayskull. So it was the first time we saw the spirit of Grayskull. I stand corrected. But since we since we are at Castle Grayskull and speaking to the spirit and all that stuff, Mike, what would you like to tell the spirit of Castle Grayskull that you liked about Teela's triumph? What were your Castle Grayskull moments?
Holy crap, he made Zord disappear. Uh-oh. It's always funny when something happens to her that isn't her own doing. I don't know. It's just kind of funny and shocking all at the same time to me when stuff happens to the sorceress that, like, her getting weak from Skeletor's overpowering her, that doesn't, like, that's just standard at this point. But when something actually physically happens to her where she's gone, it's just it's kind of shocking. Once again, every single cartoon series, every single cartoon episode here, Cringer always gets a moment as long as he's in the episode. I never thought he'd be asking to get turned into Battle Cat.
Yeah. Nor did he.
Yeah. Skeletor captured He-Man. Oh no! Hearing He-Man and the Sorceress and Battle Cat all say the call is just weird. It just doesn't sound right. It should never be done again.
It's Castle Grayskull moment.
No. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. I thought it was funny and weird. I do like that they are trying to give Teela character depth, but they're failing at it so hard.
I don't know if they're failing so much. I mean, they're still doing it. It's just whether we like it or not.
What about you?
I like the shot of Trapjaw sleeping and Skeletor shooting the chair out from under him. Thought that was pretty funny. I do like the coincidence that Zor is flying by Snake Mountain and that Skeletor, without his knowledge, hits Zor with the ray. I like that wasn't necessarily a plan and that he's just testing it out. And as soon as he's like, oh, let's test it, I'm like, oh, he's about to hit the sorceress. And I liked that angle. I liked that he was going to do it without his knowledge, so then he wouldn't know that Castle Grayskull is not protected, and the Masters wouldn't know what had happened because nobody knows since it wasn't intentional. So it kind of set up a cool little dichotomy there. And I like the focus on actual Zor for a while. There was even a couple scenes of Zor flying, and it actually looked almost identical to the toy and the way the toy's wings worked when you squeezed her feet together. So I thought there were some cool shots of Zor that usually we just get to see kind of her from a distance or just for a couple of seconds, but there was some extended look at Zor, and I thought that was fun. I like the idea of the spirit calling for He-Man instead of the sorceress. I know that's kind of a plot device because we don't have anyone else to warn He-Man now that the sorceress is not there, so they kind of created a character for that. But I somewhat enjoy the idea that Castle Grayskull kind of has, its own mysticism behind it outside of the sorceress, and it's somewhat of not like a living creature, but basically somewhat of a magical entity regardless.
Yeah, because the entire castle, everybody always talks about the power. Where does He-Man get the power and blah, 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 blah. Well, the power is from Grayskull itself, and the power is from, his ancestor, King Grayskull. And he's infused into the walls of the castle in certain continuities that I've read and talked about and whatever else. But it's one of those things in this series, it's interesting because we always see that this series is a combination of magic and technology. Because you've got Man-at-Arms and Skeletor and whoever else building things. And then you've got everything else to do with Grayskull, with the magic and, the beams of light and, swords being able to deflect anything and everything. And, I mean, you got to think, the spirit of Grayskull, and that's really, and oh my god, it took us till this episode for me to even think about this. Remember, and you probably won't, but there's a time when I mentioned that when He-Man transformed, this was probably in season 1, and he's getting ready to transform Cringer, and Cringer runs down a palace corridor and goes to the right, and the power follows him to the right. So now that we know that there is a spirit of Grayskull, that dude's got a really, really cruel sense of humor.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just like that it's not just about a sword that has the power. It's not just about He-Man has the power. It's not even just the sorceress. It's something that's bigger than all of them. So I kind of like that. I like the idea that we're having an episode where basically, at least for a little bit, there's no He-Man or sorceress on Eternia. So basically the two biggest, most powerful people on the side of the good are not present. And it's interesting to set up that scenario where what are they going to do? Their two main people are not there. And really outside of those two people, they do not have a very powerful force. I mean, I know they have the Royal Army, etc., but against Skeletor or against whoever, without He-Man and Sorceress, they're up a creek without a paddle. I liked that they did the sorceress disguise by Teela. I thought that was another cool, interesting thing that Teela thought that she'd at least dress up as the sorceress since she knew Skeletor didn't know that the sorceress was gone. But then I also absolutely, probably one of my favorite parts of the entire series so far, I love the lines of dialogue, and I don't know if they intended to do this or this is just a coincidence, but with Skeletor saying that basically one of the main reasons why he is noticing a difference has something to do with the voice. I find that hilarious as like an inside joke, and I hope they did that on purpose. Speaking to somewhat of the voice acting in this series, and speaking somewhat to the fact that it's the same person actually voicing them, but that he's noticing a difference in the voice, and that he even has the line, "It's a different voice." I find that funny because most of the time, even if it is the same person doing it, they're using the same voice over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. He-Man voice actors aren't good at disguising their voice a million different ways outside of maybe Oppenheimer a little bit. Otherwise, they have like maybe 2 to 3 voices total, and it's more so their regular voice, their high-pitched voice, and their low-pitched voice. Mm-hmm. So when Skeletor is noticing that Teela has a different voice than the Sorceress, I found that hysterical. I don't know why. I also thought it was fantastic to see the powers of Grayskull, yes, as the podcast is named, actually in action in this episode. It's not the Sorceress acting. It's not He-Man acting. We're literally seeing the powers of Grayskull as they try to buy Teela time, as they mess with Trapjaw and Evelyn and Skeletor, etc. So we actually get to see the powers of Grayskull in action in this episode. And again, like we mentioned, I thought there was some nice continuity between the Sorceress and Teela from previous episodes, and I'm glad they continued that.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so let's see if there's anything negative to say about Teela's triumph as we make our way to Snake Mountain.
But will it work?
Of course it will work. I, the mighty Skeletor, created it. With this, I am now the greatest force on Eternia, the most powerful... What's that? How dare you sleep during my greatest triumph, the solution to our problems? With this weapon, I can send He-Man to another dimension where he'll be lost forever. I'll show you.
Find ourselves at Snake Mountain for the first time today to talk about Teela's triumph. Sir, what do you have for Snake Mountain moments?
That was the freakiest look on the Falcon's face. Holy hell, that was kind of scary. Like, when it got hit, it just... I guess it would be a natural reaction to being hit by a giant flippin' ray, but it just... The facial expressions, it's just too damn freaky for me.
Didn't like it?
No. Going off of what I said earlier... I wish we had... Like, I like everything to do with how Teela... Like you were saying in Castle Grayskull, how Teela kind of tried to fool Skeletor. I like that aspect of it, but these writers, unless it's someone like DiTilio or Paul Dini or somebody like that, unless they actually are going to write her good character development, these writers are just sucking on Teela's character development. At least she's not a whiny little bitch in this episode, but at the same time, it just still sucks.
I don't know if I say it sucks. I mean, I think they progress it better in this one than they have in a lot of different episodes. Yeah. And I like, again, that it's not that whining aspect. It's more of a person kind of shoved into a scenario that they're not expecting, not ready for. So I don't fault her for the reactions, and I think it does add a little to her character. I don't know. I didn't think it sucked that bad in this episode. What else do you have?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I overall and really enjoyed the episode. I mean, I'm not, I don't have too many things here. Like I said, Teela wasn't a whiny little bitch. She was a little bit insecure, be like, I don't know if I can do it, and blah, 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 blah. She was a little bit whiny, but she wasn't like, oh, woe is me, I can't do it without He-Man, or, oh my god, where did Prince Adam go, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't like her normal bitchy self, which is fine and good, and thankful for that. Overall, I enjoyed the episode, but I don't know, what else do you have for Snake Mountain ones?
I mean, I thought it was somewhat weird that the Sorceress out of nowhere needs to see Teela at the beginning of the episode. I just thought that was a cheap, quick, like, we need a reason to get her flying around, let's make her want to see Teela all of a sudden, even though she hasn't wanted to do that in like 108 episodes. So that was weird. And I think it was somewhat of a mistake because we've already recognized that they've, prior to this, established the whole Sorceress-Teela connection. And now they're finally getting to the point where they could reveal that she would be the heir, I guess you could call it, to the throne at Castle Grayskull. But never once in 108 episodes have they even hinted that Teela has any type of or capacity or potential to do anything magical, mystical, spirit-like in any way, shape, or form. Not that I've seen. We've watched 107 episodes or 110 episodes after this one here, after today's episode, pretty closely. I don't remember them ever really hinting at her having visions or of her having any type of power. And I think if they would have just done that subtly a couple times throughout the 100 episodes, it would make this even more like a reveal, more like a aha moment. Like, that's why, you could connect the dots. You could say, that's why in episode 56 she was able to see this, or that's why in episode 20 she was having these weird feelings that we didn't really understand at that point. Now it all makes sense. And I think they I know it's a bunch of different writers doing that, so it's too much to ask for, but that would have been cool if there was some type of prior connection to her having a connection to Castle Grayskull. I thought that it was somewhat lame that I know they have to do this for cost reasons, but as Teela's running around the castle, we see the same shot 2 to 3 times, just flipped around, where she runs, hesitates, looks both ways, runs forward. That's annoying. Where did Skeletor get that weapon from? Did he just had it magically at the beginning of this episode that can basically shoot people into another dimension? It doesn't say that he got it from anybody, that he uncovered it from some location. It's just like, oh, I got this present from Santa last night, and now I can shoot people into another dimension. Just not explained. I know maybe there wasn't time in the episode. Like you had mentioned, the group by the Power of Grayskull I thought was kind of lame. Not as lame as the fact that that's all it took to get back to Eternia. Like, that was a plot point. Like, we need them back in Eternia. We really have no explanation of how this is going to happen. Nobody knows where they're at. We didn't have some type of reverse button on the gun that could somehow shoot them back here or something like that. So, I mean, there was really no way to get them back, so they're just like, oh, we're just going to hold up the sword and we're going to come back to Eternia. Whatever. Teela fails at the end, though. A fail moment when she's basically got Skeletor held up, and then she loses concentration, and and maybe the worst moment of the entire episode, the sorcerer's actually crying on screen.
You don't see. That's the thing with you. You don't like the cry. You don't like the.
I do not.
You've mentioned this.
It's
many
so
times
forced.
Before.
It's forced because it's not natural. It's not like they're doing something.
Single tear.
It's like, hey, we're gonna pan the camera this way. We're gonna zoom in, flood your eyes with tears real quick in a very forced effect. If it was just like something and they really didn't focus on it and it just happened, and you'd have to actually have a good eye to see it, that'd be different. But when they're like zooming in and showcasing it with a spotlight, I hate that. I really hate that. That's all I have for Snake Mountain. Let's make our way and see how we actually felt and what kind of awards and rankings we're going to give for the first episode today.
Maybe the sorceress just took a vacation.
No, Cringer. If the sorceress is missing, she's in trouble. And Teela has to face a great responsibility. You want to help Teela, don't you?
Yes, I suppose so. Okay, turn me into Battle Cat. I never thought I'd be asking for that.
That's the spirit. By the power of Grayskull!
All right, we're back for episode 108, Teela Triumph Award and Rankings. What do you have as far as power swords or havoc staffs for Teela's Triumph, sir?
Once again, doesn't matter. He can have the smallest role in an entire cartoon, but Cringer gets a power sword for wanting to beat Scum Battle Cat.
Makes sense.
What about you?
I've got a clever one, I think. One that I don't know how often this is done, but I'm going to give a power sword to Grayskull itself. For
I already did that.
Okay, well, I'm giving one again for Grayskull being able to defend itself, for us actually seeing the powers of Grayskull. So 1 to the actual castle. Cool. All right, so what is your ranking for the first episode for today?
Overall, I really liked it, even though it's a Teela-centric episode. I thought she did fairly well for the most part. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 Orkos.
All right, and the world is probably going to soon end. I am in complete agreement with Mike. I give this one a 4 out of 5 Battle Cats. So we are both sticking to a 4 out of 5 for the beginning of today's episode. And now we can move on and see if that trend continues as we get to episode 109, Orko's New Friend, next.
To see you again, and you're looking great. Come on and meet my friends. Squanch, these are my best friends in the whole universe, Prince Adam and Teela.
Pleased to meet you, Squanch.
Did you have a good trip?
Well, it wasn't too bad. But after I got out of hyperspace, I sat down on a minor asteroid for a few repairs. Turned out there was a 6-headed space hydra living on it. I narrowly escaped with my life.
I see.
How nice. I mean that you escaped.
Yeah, it was pretty scary there for a while. It was nested in a tunnel, and I flew my ship right into its mouth, and... Hey, what's that?
It's the Intergalactic Police.
I wonder why they're here.
Greetings.
Greetings. Forgive our abrupt landing, but this is urgent. We are agents of the Intergalactic Police. We've been chasing a very dangerous criminal, and we trailed him to your planet. We've come to advise your king.
I am Prince Adam, his son. I'll take care of that.
Good. This is our criminal. He's called the Slave Master. He travels from planet to planet. He overpowers his victims, then uses them as slaves. He uses his slaves to mine precious minerals. And this character keeps them in line. He goes by the name of Jawbreaker. This is the Slave Master's ship. We'll leave you this video so you can refer to it.
We'll look into the matter at once.
Thank you. Now keep a sharp eye.
Goodbye, and thank you.
All right, next up is episode 109, Orko's New Friend, written by Shelley Carroll and Warren Greenwood. Air date, and this is how we ended our week, Friday, November 9th, 1984. Orko's old friend, Squanch.
Where are his square pants?
From the Trallon Academy of Magic, comes to visit. This Trallon has a tendency to tell tall tales. When he is the first to notice the arrival of the dangerous slave master on Eternia, nobody seems to believe him, and trouble ensues. No evil warriors today, but we do get our normal masters. And, of course, the PSA obviously is about the boy who cried wolf and how telling tall tales and lies can get you to the point where nobody's going to believe you when it's actually important. Obviously, an age-old PSA, an age-old plot line, I guess, for this one. But even though the plot's been done 1,000 times in 1,000 different cartoons, how did you feel about the way they did it here and how it's set up with both Squanch, Orko's friend, and the slave master and his sidekick and all the collections of the different slaves?
Can we get to the good episode, please?
This is actually not a bad episode, so stop.
It's very bad, boring.
All right, so we were in agreement last episode. Apparently we're not going to be on this one. I do not feel like this is a bad episode.
This is a very bad episode.
All right, so you didn't like the plot?
No. Orko does not need any more Trallon friends to come screw shit up on Eternia.
True. But if we had to pick which ones of his friends could come back, I don't mind Squanch, actually, compared to some of the other ones.
No.
All right, let's just make our way to Castle Grayskull before I punch Mike in the face.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, Squanch. Hey, I'm sorry.
Orko, I saw the slave master's ship in the forest.
Golly, Squanch, don't you ever give up?
What? What are you talking about?
I mean, this made-up story of yours.
This isn't a story, Orko. I saw the slave master.
Did he have 6 heads? Look, Squanch, I was all set to forgive you and apologize when you come back here and...
Will you listen to me? I spotted the slave master. We gotta hurry and warn Adam and
with you to where you said you saw the ship. If it's there, we go tell Adam and Teela. If not, then you put an end to your storytelling once and for all. Deal?
Deal! Come on! Come on! Hurry!
All right, I'm coming.
All right, let's see what kind of things we found at Castle Grayskull for Orko's new friend. I will start, because I don't want to start this off on a bad note here.
Oh, wait a second here. I only have one thing for
All right,
Castle Grayskull, so... Nice bang gag, Orko. I love it when people do bang gags.
Yeah, the gun with the bang flag is cool. That's a good moment. I also like the various slaves that we see collected. It's definitely an interesting collection of people, including a couple of people that we've seen before, even though they don't speak in this episode. There was like the lizard man and a certain type of bird man that we got to see, and I thought those were cool that they reappeared, whether it was just using stock image or whatever, but them. And then I thought some of the new slaves were kind of cool looking characters that it almost would be cool to see them in their own episode. I like for once that they actually somewhat dramatically changed the voice for Jawbreaker. It's not just one of our recycled voices. It's kind of like that version for I can't remember who was doing it, if it was Lou Scheimer or Irwin or Oppenheimer, but that's the most they've shifted their voice in a long time for a character on this series. Slave Master, I think, is a pretty good bad guy, actually. I think I like him amongst the various one-off bad guys throughout the series, so I'm not going to hate on him too much. He reminded me of a character from Brave Star. I don't know what the quota or the deadline is that they keep talking about. It's almost like he's answering to somebody above him, but we never really find out who that is or why he has a quota or a deadline.
It's Hordak.
I like the game Man-at-Arms and He-Man played, as far as kind of tricking them a little bit. I like the trickery. And we also got to see He-Man doing karate in this episode, so that was fun. He was kicking people and then doing the arm thing like he's in karate. Ninja Man, so I guess he was channeling some other form of himself, because we've never really seen him do karate before. But
wait, are you telling me that that Man-at-Arms is a white version of Morpheus and He-Man is now Neo? Oh my God!
No, I was going to go with Man-at-Arms being Mr. Miyagi.
That's
Prince
even
Adam
worse.
being Karate Kid.
That's even worse.
But, yeah, there's definitely some fun things about this episode. I don't think it was that bad, but let's see all the bad things that you found for it as we make our way to Snake Mountain.
Eternia, if we must, until we find the strongest creature on this planet. What was that? Get them!
I think it's time for us to leave.
Oh, I agree! I agree!
Not so fast, my slippery little Trollans.
Orko!
Get out of here. Don't worry about me.
I'm not leaving you behind!
You can't do anything here. Get Adam and Teela. Go!
All right, sir, since you hated this episode, what did you hate about it?
It's not even that I hate I don't hate a specific moment with the episode. I just felt it was really fucking boring. It just, when I'm sitting here watching a cartoon, whether it's He-Man, whether it's Gem, whether it's Transformers, whether it's whatever, I'll look at it, on Netflix or Hulu or wherever, because we have to watch the Masters of the Universe stuff on Hulu. We love Hulu because they have the He-Man and She-Ra cartoons on Hulu. Anyway, that's a whole thing that no one's going to understand, except maybe you. So usually when I sit and watch these things, I'll look at the counter when it starts. So obviously after 2 or 3 seconds, it's going to have, 28, 29, whatever it is left. And then I'll watch and watch and watch, and I'll take notes throughout if I feel like taking notes. Or sometimes, as we've mentioned before on this podcast and other review shows, sometimes we get sucked in and we just start watching it and we don't take any notes because we enjoyed it too much. And then there are just some episodes where it's like, I just keep watching the timer. Is it over yet? Is it done? Oh my God, there's 3 more Hulu ads that I have to watch before this damn episode is over. And it just, like I said in the plot, Orko doesn't need any more new friends. Okay, let's look at Orko in the past 108 episodes, okay? You've got his uncle and his uncle's pet. You've got Driosa's girlfriend, so, whatever. You've got Driel's brother, Yonkers, or Yuckers, or whatever the hell. Yonkers, oh my god.
Yes, Yonkers. Yeah. He owned a store in Trollan.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got them, you've got the new friends he's tried to make along the way that aren't even from Tralla. And it's like, how about actually putting some character development into Orko? And not just putting him in these consistent bad comedy situations.
Snoob.
Yeah,
Snoob with the long nose.
Yeah,
He's fun. And Prankster.
I thought that was Yuckers.
No, that's a different one.
Oh. But, like, I just wish that I think people would actually enjoy Orko a little. A lot of the Masters fans that I know absolutely loathe Orko for this cartoon, and even more so for the 2002 cartoon because of the way that he was portrayed in that one. And I really do think, and I know syndication cartoons weren't what they are today, where, hey, we actually want to have a story and whatever else, and these are very episodic back then, but I just wish Orko had a lot more character development at this point in the series. And I just think that this episode for me was just super boring.
I think for me, he's one of the characters I don't really need to see too much more character development in. I'm fine actually not seeing any more Orko-related episodes. I get his character. We've totally understood his backstory. We understand where he came from. We understand about his magic working and not working. We understand about the type of people that he left back on Tralla.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really know what else they could do or what else they could give me that I would find interesting about his character. So I always think it's almost a waste of time when we get Orko-related episodes because I'd much rather just see other characters with their backstory. But, I don't mind seeing a few more characters from Tron. It kind of makes their world bigger and gives us a feeling that there's more than just 3 of them. But, yeah, I don't really care to see much more backstory for Orko. I would like to know, however, why Squanch does not have a letter on his cape dress thing.
Yeah. Even Randor got an R on his.
Yeah, Squanch is just a blank red thing there. I don't know about... them saying that they're going for a walk when they don't really walk. He's like, I'm going for a walk. Like, you mean you're going for a float? You're going for a fly? You're going for a... I don't know. Even though I really liked the look of Slave Master, I really hated the look of Jawbreaker. It looked like a knockoff version of Buzzsaw from Silverhawks. It was just weak looking. It didn't match. Like, I don't know why this character would have been with Slave Master. They didn't have any chemistry together, and I thought Jawbreaker was pretty weak, even though I liked the voice work for him. And if you're going to capture him in like that, and you're going to make him a slave, and you're going to make him go to work in your mines, I don't know about this particular organization that Slave Master's running, but in every other bad guy organization on the planet, whether it be live-action movies, cartoons, comic books, books, whatever it might be, the first thing you do when you take someone captive is you take away their sword. You don't let them carry their sword on their back as they are going to be a slave and work in your mine for you. That is why he led the revolt, because you did not take his sword. So that's just a failure by this whole organization, and I've never seen a bad guy organization not take away the weapons that are... It's not like he was hiding it in his sock or in his belt or whatever. There's a giant-ass sword on his back. How do you not see that? So that's my Snake Mountain moments for this episode. Anything else you got before we get to awards and rankings?
No.
All right, let's make our way to see exactly how we rate episode 109.
Gotta help He-Man.
The fire's out in the arm, but Jawbreaker doesn't need fire to stop a strong man.
All right, it's time to find out how this episode actually stacks up. But before we do that, is there any hardware to hand out for you in the form of a power sword or a havoc staff?
2 havoc staffs to the writers.
Ouch.
2 havoc staffs, 1 for
Stop
each
it.
writer. No, because this could have been done so much better. Instead of doing a Boy Who Cried Wolf episode... I don't know. It just... No. 2 havoc staffs, 1 each for the writers.
I disagree. I will give a power sword to Squanch. Yes, I'm giving a power sword to one of the Trollan friends. For some reason, I enjoyed him. I realized that he tells tall tales and that he lies a lot, etc., and he has some, negative characteristics. But he played a good character in this episode. He wasn't lying when it was important, and he did his best to help everything out and to try to solve the problems that he created. So he owned up to his responsibility, so power sword to Squanch. It's a fun name to say. All right, as far as episode rating, I don't even want to ask you what you gave this one because I'm afraid of the answer. But how many stars, Cringers, Orkos, Battle Cats, Castle Grayskulls are you giving this episode?
I'm going to give it 2 Panthors. Because I'm hoping Panther comes along and just eats Squanch.
You are a grumpy old man. I can't agree with that. I'm sorry. I know the plot is
it's boring.
No.
It's repetitive.
No. Let me tell my piece. The plot has been done before. That's what I'm saying. It's not unique, but I think it was still executed in a way that it made it fun to watch. I liked all the different slaves and the slave master capturing everybody. I liked the Squanch telling the tall tales and kind of creating the problems and them trying to figure out how to get out of it. I thought it was an entertaining episode. And so for that reason, I will give it a 3.5 out of 5 Battle Cats.
You're crazy.
I thought it was above average. And I thought it was entertaining. And, it wasn't a terrible episode like you're saying it was.
It is.
No.
It is very much a...
So 3.5.
No one watched this episode
There has not been a
again.
bad episode since The Greatest Show on Eternia. That was the last
The
bad
Greatest
episode.
Show on Eternia was a good episode.
No.
Yes.
This is
You're
like
wrong.
the 4th in a row that has been a solid episode. I mean, 2 that were just kind of average, but I have not rated something under a 3 in 8 episodes. And I'm sorry, I can't rate this one under that.
You need your head examined.
No, I mean, you've only rated 2 of them under that. So you've only rated 3 of them under 3 in the second half of season 2. So we're both pleasantly surprised and liking the episodes here. I just think you're wrong on this one. But regardless, let's let Toon Master Tim be the deciding vote. He will let us know who's right and who's wrong with Orko's new friend. Tim, we need your help. Tell Mike he's wrong. Tell me I'm right. And the world can continue like normal.
Tim, I'm kicking him off the show. I need you to host.
Not happening. We're 50-50 partners on this one.
Right.
I have to relinquish my spot like I did in Mass Mayhem.
That's what you said about the other one.
I relinquished my spot on Mass Mayhem. You did not kick me off. I pleasantly, happily, gladly, and voluntarily relinquished my seat.
Left us to be tortured.
Yes. So let's make our way to the next episode, the final one for today, episode 110. Finally, the problem of power.
General Tatterland, how nice of you to respond so quickly to my call.
It's hard to say no to one of your invitations, Skeletor.
He was real happy to come here.
Let's get this straight. I didn't come because that walking can opener made me. I came because I heard that you had a plan to defeat He-Man. Such plans I find very interesting. I want to see that do-gooder defeated just as much as you do.
Well then, I have just the plan for you. Trapjaw!
Oh, yes, Master.
Trapjaw, the General and I have important business to discuss.
Oh, yes, Master.
It has nothing to do with you.
Oh, yes, Master.
Trapjaw.
Right here, Master.
Get out of here!
Right, Master, right.
Not too bright, is he?
As you can see, General, when I require intelligent assistance, I have to look somewhere besides Snake Mountain. That's why I called on you.
You mean for my brains?
That, and because you are heartless. When I said heartless, I meant just that. As you are a goblin, I understand you do not have a heart.
That's true, we don't need them.
Then you do not have a heartbeat, right?
Of course not, but I don't understand. Why do you ask these questions? I thought you had a plan to defeat He-Man.
I do, but this time we're not going to defeat He-Man.
We're not?
No, this time He-Man is going to defeat himself.
All right, we're going to do our best to end today on a positive note with episode 110, The Problem with Power, written by Bob Forward and Leslie Wilson, based on an idea by Tom Tanaranowitz. Air date, Monday. It's how we started our week, November 12th, 1984. Skeletor tricks He-Man into believing he accidentally killed a man. Distraught, Adam decides to give up being He-Man and throws the Power Sword into Grayskull's bottomless abyss. We have Skeletor and Trapjaw for the evil warriors. For the Masters, we have the regulars, including King Randor, Queen Marlena, and the Sorceress. And the PSA is randomly about being safe. Sorry,
yeah, this is what I was
This one has nothing to do with the episode. It's about safety. It's about buckling up. It's about not playing with matches. They try to throw like 3 or 4 or 5 different things about being safe. Whatever. Orko's fun facts, there's not really that much, but I do have a couple different things here from both trivia and from the commentary track, because the DVD has a commentary track on this episode, obviously being a pretty famous episode. Trivia, the advancement of plot details such as He-Man questioning his right to wield such power without consequences, the Teela, He-Man, Adam relationship gaining a major foothold, ranks it highly amongst fans as being worthy of a series finale, be it intentional or not. And actually, when they assembled the BCI DVDs, they did put it as the final episode of the series, even though that is not true to how it aired or how it was produced. Originally, episode writer Tom Tataranowitz wanted He-Man to actually kill an innocent bystander by accident. However, Filmation bosses felt that this idea was far too extreme for a kid's cartoon, so the plot was adjusted so that it was kind of a plot device by Skeletor and Trapjaw. And the reason that they did that, this is straight from the mouth of Tom Tataranowitz, that him and Bob Forward decided that when they were writing this episode that they were going to do their best job to try to win an Emmy for this episode. And in Star Trek, it had happened. They had won an Emmy by killing somebody off, so they thought that they were going to win an Emmy, whether facetiously or not, by killing somebody off in He-Man. So that's kind of where that idea came from. And there was also a bunch of homages played by Tom Tataranowitz about a 1950s serial or comic that he used to watch. And some of it was taken right out of that as far as some of the ideas and kind of an homage to what he loved as a child growing up there. So those are your trivia bits. Obviously a pretty famous episode. A lot of people know about this. A lot of people think it should have been the finale. What do you think about the whole idea of Adam throwing the sword away after he thinks he actually hurt somebody, killed somebody, and he gives up being He-Man?
It's about time he got some character development other than just being the lazy kid, sleeping in front of the fishing hole. I thought it was great. I said last time in episode 36, I think I said episode 35, 34, 33. The last 4, 5, 6 episodes of the podcast, I've said it. The problem with Power is one of probably 5 episodes of this entire series that I truly remember every single piece of the episode.
You have a better memory than mine. I remember parts of it. There's no way I could say I remember every single piece of it, though.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm Captain Literal, by the way.
The point... Thank you, Captain Obvious Mother... Anyway, the point of Adam not being... the scene where he throws the sword away, he holds it up, I give back the... that whole thing. I remember that very vividly.
If you were making a top 10 scenes of the entire series, that would have to be in the top 3, maybe even the top 1.
Top 3 scenes in general for me would be, and I don't know where it would be 3, 2, or 1. The very first time he opens Grayskull. The very, with the judge, Marlena flying, Marlena the pilot in the Rainbow Warrior. And this episode, and that's this scene from that scene from this episode about giving the power up again. So
it's probably one of the most emotional moments we've had in the entire series, as far as him feeling like that. And that scene is not just good because of the plot and because of the emotional parts, but there's some other things that are good about that I'll get to when I get to Castle Grayskull. But what I like most about this episode similar to episode 108, is we're over 100 episodes in, and we've gotten 2 episodes out of the last 3 that are completely unique, never been done before, something we've never seen in this series, with the sorceress being out and someone else having to control or defend Castle Grayskull. That's new. That was cool. And now we see He-Man not wanting to be He-Man anymore, and Prince Adam throwing the sword away. Obviously, something that's never happened before. We've seen other people take the sword from him. We've seen him be without his sword for a variety of different reasons, but it's never been an intentional choice of him or by him to basically decide to stop being He-Man. And it even going so far to, it trickles down to, it's not just a decision he makes by himself. The Man-at-Arms is aware of it. The King's aware of it. Everybody's aware of it. So it really
the king is aware of it in a sense.
Well, he's aware that He-Man has done something and is no longer fighting for him. He's no longer going to be defending Eternia, and
whereas Man-at-Arms knows the real
Right.
I'm just going to say this right now. We're 110 episodes into this cartoon. Man-at-Arms is more of a father to Adam than Randor ever has been in this series.
Yeah. But it also just adds a whole element of humanity, of humility, of humbleness to Adam / He-Man as a character. Makes him not just this superhero comic book character, but a real person with real emotions and real thoughts. So definitely a cool plot, regardless of the stupid PSA. So we wanted to talk about that. Let's get to Castle Grayskull and talk about exactly what parts of this episode make it so memorable.
What a mess. I guess Skeletor...
He-Man! Help us! There's someone under here!
Oh, no. Stand aside. Oh, no. What have I done?
My plan is working perfectly. Now I must make my change.
Is he?
There is no heartbeat. He's dead.
He was my brother. You killed him, He-Man. You killed him.
It's your fault, He-Man. You did it.
We have to go after him.
He needs to be alone for a while, Orko. We better go back to the palace and report.
You go. He-Man needs me.
All right, it's time for Castle Grayskull moments for the problem with power. You're up first, sir.
Hold on a second here. He-Man will defeat himself.
I'm sorry, was that Skeletor?
Yes. This is a combination if Skeletor and the Wicked Witch of the West had a son.
I like it. That's exactly what it sounded like to me.
This is, the DVD commentary or the trivia notes, whatever, they're right. There's only one thing that I would not do with this being the series finale, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but this might be the smartest we've ever seen Skeletor. Because he's going to devise a way for He-Man to believe that he failed. And what's better than doing that? Skeletor is a genius in this episode. You mentioned earlier you don't like the was it in Teela's Triumph, I think, where you said you didn't like the stock animation running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
Was that it? This one I gotta say,
it's so slow.
No, I know.
It's not that it's the same. It's the same actual animation. It's the fact that it's such a slow, prolonged. Look at me. This is what's happening, and then 2 seconds later, look at me. This is what's happening from a different angle.
Yeah.
Continue.
I gotta say though that they used the stock animation well in the opening fight scenes, specifically when He-Man jumps down, the standard jump down thing, and then Skeletor turns and runs. That classic pose of, it's not necessarily Skeletor is in a Mr. November pose or anything, sitting on the floor, but just that classic turn of his that he does with his body. and they're basically superimposed over each other as they're doing this. The cells are or something, and it works. It might be the best stock animation with two characters in the same scene that I've seen in this entire series.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. I had to put it here because while I like it, I think it's very, very sad. The Let the Power Returns. That entire scene is just, oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know what is more emotional, the entirety of The Secret of the Sword or that one scene. What about you?
I like He-Man confronting Skeletor face to face when they're going to that area that everything's going down. The town was named after that Tom Tyrannowitz's wife. But when they arrive at that town, He-Man actually confronts Skeletor right face to face. It's not like he's trying to divide something. It's just like he walks straight up to him. It's like, what's going on? I like Skeletor's dialogue. Man-at-Arms says something, and he calls him Tin Hat, or whatever he calls him. That was funny. And then it starts when He-Man knocks over that thing and it falls on the person, etc. When it falls on General Teteran. Orko, actually, when he has the line that there was someone under there, when he says that, and the animation and the look on his face and the way the vocal line is delivered was absolutely perfect.
It was.
It was the right amount of shock and awe. It was the right amount of, oh my goodness, something serious just happened, but not over the top in a campy way, in which it somewhat was not done as well when it's when He-Man's reacting immediately. That was a little cheesier or a little more fake looking. When he's doing it right there and then, he reacts better afterwards when he's off, at Castle Grayskull. But Orko in that moment reacted perfectly. It's one of the best shots of the series. Also one of the best plots of the series as far as complexity and uniqueness. And I'm not just saying it's one of the best plots because, He-Man decides not to be He-Man. It's way more than that. It's from Skeletor having that plan, that's how he's going to do it, and he's going to make He-Man feel bad about it. It's from that being a trick, from He-Man deciding not to be He-Man. It's the rest of the people trying to figure out what to do without He-Man. There's just it's a complex plot and probably one of the best of the series up to this point. And then on top of that, we had some of the best graphic /art /drawing /coloring /shading of the entire series, especially in that scene when Adam is standing on that tower. The shading is perfect. The lighting is perfect. Yep. The moon is perfect. The angles are perfect.
It's perfect.
And when the wind blowing in his hair is perfect. When he throws the sword, it's perfect. Like, that is a great animated scene. Something that almost looks like it shouldn't have came out of 1984. It looks like it's beyond its time. And that's because the people were so good at doing what they did here, and because they did use so much stock animation at times, they were able to really focus on those new scenes or those new things that they needed specifically for the episode and make them really good. And that's something you kind of get through the commentary track, that when they had to focus on something individual for that episode, they could make it really great because of the huge library of stock animation that they were using for some of the other things.
Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead.
When you look at the Power Sword, when you look at, when we normally see it in He-Man's hand, it's kind of a darkish, lightish gray. I know that's a really weird term to put at it, but it kind of is, depending. But there are also these other times where it looks shiny, glossy, and new. The one time that I really noticed this is, obviously, we're not there yet, but the one time where I really noticed this is in the scene in Secret of the Sword, when Adora goes down to where He-Man is, and we see the dark gray, kind of polished looking, metallic looking Power Sword and Sword of Protection. I love how they do that silhouette kind of outline, and I wish that they would do that more in the series. I know that they can't do that because I guess it's a shading trick in animation that they do with it. I could be wrong. People, please let me know. But they did this here when Adam went back and he jumped down the hole. God, now all I can think is Baby Plucky. He-Man go down the hole.
It wasn't just a good emotional and impactful part of those plot, that scene. It wasn't just a beautiful scene, but then they even got the right dialogue too, and it was epic when he says, "Let the power return." A perfect line for that moment, perfectly delivered. So that whole thing is probably the highlight of the episode and one of the highlights of the entire series. And then lastly, just a funny comical point when Orko was tapping his foot. I thought that was awesome since he's really not standing on the ground, but he was like doing like a foot tap anyway. So yeah, a lot of good things about this episode. Not to say that it's a perfect episode though. There are some Snake Mountain moments, at least for me. So let's get there and find out what those are.
There are a couple.
Everyone's gone, Tataran. You can get up now. He-Man was completely fooled.
I'll say, he really believes I'm dead here.
Yes, I doubt if He-Man will give us any more trouble. Now, we can rebuild that gate, and this time for real.
A trick! It was all a trick!
What? A spy! I'll take care of him.
All right, it's time for the Snake Mountain moments for the problem with power. You might think with how much we've led this up and how much, at least Mike's hyped this one up, that we wouldn't have anything to say negative about the problem with power, but it is not a faultless episode. So what do you have?
I didn't think I was going to have anything, but there are two moments. And you're probably going to say, quit stealing my notes, because one of them you may or may not have caught, but I definitely caught it because I was watching, I basically had my face 3 inches away from my monitor when I was watching this episode, making sure I noted every single thing.
Mike doesn't see well, folks. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Shut the hell up. But in the scene that we absolutely love for all the wrong reasons that we love it, for the fact that it is so sad, where in the Sam hell does Man-at-Arms and Sorceress come from? Because they were not there when we first saw He-Man standing on the tower. They just all of a sudden appear out of nowhere. And
Sorceress flew as Zor, holding Man-at-Arms in her falcon claws.
What I'm saying, no, that's wrong. No, you're wrong.
What
I'm saying is they don't show them being, like, if they had shown them being there with him to support him in his decision beforehand instead of afterhand, I could understand it. But since they just kind of poof appear and Sorceress doesn't even say anything. The other one was So, Melvin, do you like the Flash? The Flash? He doesn't have superpowers. He's on meth. He-Man does not have super speed. I don't care.
Yes, he does. He has super strong legs.
Okay. All right. You really want to go with that, huh?
Yeah, super strong legs, and if you have strong legs, you can run faster.
You really want to go with that. Every single time we've seen him, and you've complained about this. I don't remember which episode of the podcast it's been, but you've complained about this. Running across long distances with his little stair-stepper looking run, and it looks like he's running in slow motion. Yet in this scene, he picks Teela up like Superman and basically just speeds right out of there before the thing can explode or whatever. Yeah,
He-Man is capable of doing whatever the plot needs him to do.
No. He-Man is not Superman. He-Man does not have super speed. He-Man is not the Flash.
He-Man is not the Flash, but He-Man is better than Superman.
Okay, Superman fans.
Better than Superman.
Hate mail to Bosque Dog at
He-Man is better than Superman. If we ever had a tournament of badasses like the Talking in Circles do, I will throw Superman in there. I will throw He-Man in there, and He-Man will destroy Superman.
The next Wars tournament, we need to have DC Universe versus Masters of the Universe. No, I'm not kidding.
We'll see. Anyways, He-Man's better than Superman, and some bad things about the problem with power. It's not a bad thing. It's not even a problem with anything. I just thought it was weird that he had the transformation directly right in front of Man-at-Arms and Orko. I know they both.
But they already know.
I know that. I know they both know, but it's very rare that he does it right in front of them. Anyways, and it caught me off guard for a second that he didn't run anywhere. He just like, I don't care. These guys know I'm transforming right freaking here. probably one of the dumbest things about this episode, I guess, and I know it's his flaw and it's his problem that he's trying to recover from the entire episode. But what in the hell was he thinking when he pushed that thing over, or when he punched it? I mean, he already knew it was unstable. You're not telling me he lost his bearings in playing peekaboo with Skeletor so much that he forgot. Like when he punched it, I was like, "Are you serious? He just did that? That is so out of character."
And did he not hear Man-at-Arms say no?
So I know it's crucial to the rest of the episode, but I wish they could have done that in some way where it was more of an accident and not just him punching it straight on. That's equivalent, since we're talking about Superman, that's equivalent to everybody having a huge issue with Superman doing stuff right in the middle of a town and
oh God, don't bring that up.
It's equivalent to the same thing. It's something very out of character. I did not have a problem with Superman doing all that, but I do have a problem with He-Man doing this because he basically punched it. I wish he would have ran into it or something instead of punching it. And did that guy drink the same thing that Juliet or Romeo and Juliet drank, where his heartbeat stopped? Because He-Man leans over and listens to General whatever his name is, Tataran's, and hears no heartbeat and, declares him dead. Was the guy able to disguise his heartbeat?
I see that's kind of questionable, because this whole thing with this belt that Skeletor either gave to him or whatever, this whole thing was, it made him invincible. It made him, attacks just went right through him. Yeah, force, whatever. I
don't know if it also shielded his heartbeat from being able to be heard. I'm not sure, but that was a weird.
Well, no, it couldn't have done that because the beeping belt buckle wasn't beeping when He-Man found the guy.
Yeah, so that was a weird issue.
That's about as weird as He-Man having a grappling hook in his wrist that he shoots out like Batman.
I have one of those too, so I understand. Teela failed again in this episode towards the end there.
When does Teela not fail?
Go on. I don't need to explain why or how. Another Teela fail in this episode. But the worst part about this entire episode, the worst moment in an otherwise great episode, tell me that they didn't just double the sword as a boomerang. Because when he threw that sword,
he's done that before.
It did a double loop figure and came back to him.
Yeah, they've done it before, though.
It's stupid every time.
Okay. I mentioned earlier that this would be a great series finale if it wasn't for one moment. And that moment is the consistent forced sexual tension that shouldn't even be there between Teela and He-Man as he's carrying her back to the palace.
I didn't really see that. Everybody keeps referencing to that, and I don't really see it as that. I just saw it as He-Man just being He-Man is a charismatic character. He's the strongest man in the world. He's just being himself. I didn't find it anything different than how he would treat any other female. I didn't see what everyone's talking about with some type of love connection there. I know that there's a sunset in the background, this, that, and the other, but I didn't see it as them trying to hit on each other. It's just He-Man being He-Man.
And I'll say this, now that I'm thinking about it, as much as I love this episode, and I'm still going to give the grade that I give, regardless, because I still love it, but where the hell is Cringer in all this? Cringer has a part of the power, just like He-Man does. Why wasn't he talking to Cringer about this whole... I know it would add more minutes and be overtime, whatever else, and not in the script, but it's how can you have an episode where He-Man gives the power back and not even have Cringer there?
Yeah, that's true. Well, the episode's not without faults. But even with those faults, I have a feeling we're still going to grade it fairly high. So let's see exactly how we grade this, and if we have any hardware to give out for the last time today when we get to the awards and rankings for episode 110, The Problem with Power.
Today I broke a promise and proved myself unworthy the great power that was given me. And if I am unworthy, I can no longer permit myself to be He-Man. Let the power return!
the Wind Raider, Adam. Let's go home.
All right, it's awards and rankings time for the last time today for Problem with Power. First hardware time. I will give a power sword to both Prince Adam and Skeletor. Skeletor for coming up with the plot device of tricking He-Man into giving up his power. Adam for realizing the mistake that he had made, and whether it was a rash decision or not, whether he consulted Cringer or not, he did show some humanity. So I'll give him a power sword, and I will give a Havoc staff for Teela one more time for being a failure. What about you?
What exactly did she? Oh, the ending.
Yeah, the ending.
The ending.
Well, not just being carried off into the sunset, but failing in the first place with the showdown with Skeletor, etc.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give again, like you, power sword to Adam and Skeletor. Because this might be the smartest we've ever seen Skeletor in 110 episodes.
Except for with his witty dialogue from time to time.
Well, but
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying, as far as Skeletor's plans, this was the smartest one he's ever had.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's right up at the top, if not the top. I assume that I can guess your rating, but I'll let you unveil it. How many Orkos?
It is 5 power swords.
5 power swords out of 5 Orkos. I don't know how that translates. I don't know if there's a monetary, exchange rate or how that goes. So 5 out of 5 for you.
Yep.
I've been on the fence on this one.
You're struggling, aren't you?
I'm struggling. I'm going to give it a 5, but
but you're going to give it a proviso.
I'm going to give it an asterisk because for a long time I had this rated as a 4.5. Just because it does have issues. It does have issues, the sword being the boomerang, and a couple other things like that. So, I think it does have issues. I've given about 8 or 9 other episodes a 5, and I'm giving this one a 5, but I'm saying that even though this is universally loved, I honestly think that all of the other 5s I've given out are probably better episodes than this one. Even though this might have the best scene, might have some of the best plot moments, etc., I think the other ones were executed slightly better, but I'm still going to give this one a 5.
Well, we'll have to see when it comes to our other grades when we get to episode 45.
Yeah, when we finish all up, and we'll have to see. We'll have all kinds of summary stuff in our top episodes, etc. This one has a chance. It should be in my top 10, I would assume, but up to this point, I think it's the lowest 5 I've given, if that makes sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that makes sense, but
all right.
I don't know. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with final thoughts, and I don't think we can really do our hopes for the rest of the franchise at this point, because we only got 20 episodes left.
I still have hopes.
Okay, we'll be back after this.
Today we learned that sometimes our responsibilities can seem too much to handle. When a job seems bigger than we are, it's easy to be discouraged, to give up. But sometimes if you try, really try, you can do it. When you come right down to it, there's only one thing others can expect of us, and that we can expect of ourselves, to do our best. See you next time.
In our story today, Squanch learned a valuable lesson. Squanch exaggerated and made up stories which caused people a lot of trouble. And later, when he needed people to believe him, they didn't. Squanch made up stories to make people think that he was important. And what he learned was, we're all important. Every one of us. Goodbye for now.
I want to talk to you today about safety. Accidents don't just happen to other people, they can happen to you. But you can do some things to help prevent accidents from happening. Using the safety belt when riding in a car can save your life or prevent you from being seriously hurt. Now, I know you've been told never to play with matches, because if you do, you're playing with fire. And fire can burn your toys, your home, your family, you. So use your common sense and think about what you're doing. It's better to be safe than sorry.
All right, we are back here on Powers of Grayskull, Tales of Eternia. All right, so what are your hopes, sir?
what I hope for every time we do this. More characters that I've never seen before. I don't care if we only have...
It's never going to happen.
I don't care if we only have 20 episodes left. That's enough time to throw a couple new evil warriors at me, or a couple new masters at me, or give me something that I haven't seen before, or give me some character development of a damn evil warrior. We've had character development of almost every single master. Give me some freaking character development on the evil warrior. Please, just one before the series is over. I know it's not going to happen, but that's okay. That's my hopes. I can say them even if I know they're false hopes.
This is not Sunbow. You're not going to get 120 new characters in the last 3 episodes of the show.
That. I don't want that either.
I know, but I'm just saying that it just... ladies and gentlemen, I honestly have no clue what to expect from the rest of the series. I am in agreement with the trivia you pointed out for Problem with Power. I view this as the series finale of the show. Of the cartoon series, because it was... the only thing I don't like about this is him and Teela going off into the sunset. But as far as the overall conclusion to this, I do see this as the series finale for He-Man the Masters of the Universe. I don't know what to... Alright, you know what I want to see before the last 20 episodes? I want to see something with fucking Triclops. I know we probably won't, because I think about 10 episodes back you said, oh, this is his final appearance or something.
Honestly, though, I do know that my hopes are not all false, because we will still see some characters we haven't seen before. They are coming. I don't know how many of them, but there's at least one coming. So my hopes are not all false, just most of them.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us to leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our other posts. Also, you can go over there, enter your submissions to the second annual GCRN Awards. You can go over there and listen back to the video game character tournament.
Also go there and donate and help the site survive.
Yes, we are looking to raise some money for the site so we can keep the content going and so we can protect our name.
Go donate $1, $5. That's not too much.
Something. You can send email to feedback@geekcastradio. On the subject line, use POGS Tales of Eternia and then whatever episode number. So this is episode 37. Leave us feedback in iTunes. Please do this. Leave us iTunes feedback. We've only got 4 reviews in the 3 years that we've been doing this show. 4 years that we've been doing this show.
He-Man fans out there, folks. We know we're talking to the niche, but come on.
Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio. Mine is TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
The only important one, @OptimusSolo.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast or Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoy the tales today. And don't forget to join us on our next adventure when we will continue Season 2 discussing episodes 111, 112, and 113. Double Trouble, The Eternian Flower, and Happy Birthday, Roboto.
Dun, dun, dun. That's one of those new masters coming at us. I love Roboto.
I love Roboto, but I didn't think that was... I could have sworn we've seen him before. But anyway, for now, I am TFG1Mike with...
the one and only OptimusSolo.
The power of Grayskull. You all have the power.
Unless you give it up.